What's good, Knicks Nation? The streets are buzzing. The playoffs are one sleep away. Let's break it down with the burning questions, the biggest questions leading in to Game 1. Tomorrow night it goes down, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. I'm excited, you're hyped. Let's talk about these biggest questions. As Ariel Hukporti now has been upgraded to questionable. The Knicks are fully healthy, ladies and gentlemen, heading in to this Game 1. Welcome in to the final preview show of Game 1. Welcome in chat, Buzzer Beater, Shez V. I see you, Johnny. Daniel's in the house, Tendrell. What's good, Knicks family? This is what we do this for. And it's money time. I can't wait for tomorrow night. And let's get your final questions, thoughts, predictions. There's a poll in the chat right now. Predict how many games the Knicks win this series. And let's break it down tonight as the Knicks host a watch party, official watch party. Obviously, a lot of Knicks family will be hosting their own watch parties, etc. But an official watch party, the first time I believe the Knicks have done this, with a viewing site, which is awesome. As Steph Bondy also noted, things like that took off with Toronto, the Bucks with their championship run. Could this be the start of something that gathers more momentum as the Knicks host the watch party on 33rd? It's free for the public starting 4 p.m. We have Knicks alum in attendance, Larry Johnson, Marcus Camby, Latrell Sprewell as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and it'll be buzzing, no doubt, man. The city is orange and blue right now. I feel like tomorrow, definitely the Empire State is going to be lit up in orange and blue. That's what we do. Kaiser Soze's in the house. Great to see you guys. Hey, without further ado, we don't fluff around here. So we're going to go through a quick update first and then start the biggest questions, right, heading into this series. But I've added 2 more questions, so it's going to be now the 10 biggest questions heading into this series. But big update that caught a lot of people by surprise. Ariel Hukporti, fam. He's been working his way back from the operation meniscus tear. Reported it was 4 to 6 weeks. It's been 7 weeks now, and he's been steadily working his way back. But today, he appeared on the injury report as upgraded to questionable for the first time. So we have another big demon on his way back, potentially. He'll be situational to start the series, but if the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, as we're going to talk about later tonight, if they want to deploy more bigs, which I hope they do, spoiler alert, then Hukporti could be a huge factor in terms of the series, first series, maybe the second, third, possibly fourth, if you're daring to dream like me. But look, first and foremost, it's just great to see Hukporti back, fully healthy now. People kind of got caught off guard when Tibbs said that he was a ways away. I see a lot of people kind of not know what to make of that at the time. He didn't really say he's a long ways away. He just said he was a ways away. But obviously Tibbs' mind, he was focused on the last few games of the season. He had a lot of things happening. He had JB to integrate. Tibbs kind of maybe didn't know the full gist because of the medicals. But Hukporti been closer than most people think. And it's a good sign, man. He's actually had some action against Detroit as well. I just think if the Knicks are going to play bigger, which I hope they do, and Hukporti could be that situational big, he's going to be a guy that adds more physicality, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, Paul Reed is their situational big, and Tobias Harris going to play some power forward. They don't really have a whole line of bigs. I think the Knicks probably have more bigs than Detroit now. When you look at Cat, Mitch, Hukporti, Precious, and if needed, break glass in case of emergency, PJ. As I say, Detroit only have, Reed, Stewart, and Duren, basically Tobias as well. So I think this is a more favorable matchup for the Knicks in terms of deploying extra size. Um, and so, yeah, the Demon, Hukporti. We're going to go through some quotes as well. We have Malik Beasley talking spicy as well. JB Bickerstaff being respectful to the Knicks. He got sent home by Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks 2 years back. But it's great to see Hukporti back fully healthy as well. Kaiser says we shouldn't need Hukporti in round 1. Johnny says I'm there for Spree. Number 8's going to show out in this series, Johnny. I feel you as well. Dirty's in the building, rooting for Miami to win so they lose their pick and Bam can get some dirty picks. I feel like, yeah, the Heat, they seem to turn it on when the postseason starts, man. Atlanta, they're down at the moment, as I see. I'm not going to, feel like Detroit's super tough. I really feel like they're drawing a lot of confidence from the 3 wins in the regular season, Dirty. I feel like if they didn't have those wins, they wouldn't be feeling as confident as they are, talking spicy. But we all know the Knicks weren't at their best for whatever different reasons. Each of those matchups were different, especially the final matchup with, OG, Hart, and Mitchie out as well. They haven't seen Mitchie all season. Tedrell says Huck and Tuck as backups. I think Tibbs still likes him some Precious, but I think Precious will be situational as well. Johnny feels like Huck's going to take the Precious's minutes. I feel like Hukporti has had moments throughout the season, but man, it would be a huge vote of faith, a trust in Thibodeau to actually play Hukporti, significant minutes. But you just never know the way the series is going to go. As I said in my last show, I'm going to go 2 games at a time in blocks of 2 games. I feel like after the first 1 or 2, we're going to know a whole lot more about, what kind of stock do we put into the regular season? Are we not even looking at that anymore? Because it's a brand new day, 0-0 right now. Before we get into the first burning question, guys, ranked in order from 10 down to the first, the biggest question last, I'll save. But the news, former Knicks GM, Scott Perry, back with his former club. It was very amicable, I believe, when we poached Perry from the Kings, giving them a second rounder. There's always been trust there as well. So they're going back to that well with Scott Perry to bring some stability, some respectability. Sacramento kind of lost their way a little bit. They're losing stars. Sabonis might not want to hang around. They brought back DeRozan, Levine. They tried to work that best of that situation, losing Swiper the Fox. I'm happy for Scott Perry. Let's see. It might not be a long-term thing. It might just be more of a, repair or stabilize the situation. And we'll see how that all plays out. But it feels like forever since we've seen Knicks basketball. Tomorrow night it goes down, game 1. There's a viewing party outside the Garden at 4 p.m. onwards, and Knicks legends in the building, right? It's going to be key. The schedule is out, in case you haven't seen it. Take a look here. I really like this schedule because the Knicks will have 2 days rest between games 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 as well. It's unlike anything we've seen throughout most of the season, and the Knicks are now fully healthy with Hukporti now working his way back. Buzzer beaters in the house, salute Julian Blum. Absolutely, Hukporti's back. Questionable, upgraded to questionable. So he'll be on the bench for the first game, but we just don't know how things are going to go. Injuries, possibility, foul trouble, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, right? Yeah. Basically, Malik Beasley been talking some spicy words. Not worried about Cat. He's been posting a lot of graphics of his last win at MSG when he was too small and Landry Shamet. Right, these guys are trying to act tough. They're trying to really force that bad boy narrative. Right, it really ain't there. I mean, yeah, I'll give him Isaiah Stewart. He has legitimately earned that bad boy tag. scuffles, suspensions, all of that. You know, he put his money where his mouth is. But really, am I expected to believe that Jalen Duren is a bad boy? Are we expected to believe that Tobias Harris, the bad boy Pistons, would be crawling in their grave, looking at Tobias Harris as a bad boy Piston? We all know Malik Beasley's trying to talk that smack, but at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson will have these guys focused, right? The captain, him and MJ live alongside each other in playoff scoring, right? 5 game stretch of 40 plus as well. Jalen Brunson, Michael Jordan. The Pistons don't have that, and all the best to them. Pistons fans, I haven't had many interactions with them, but I think the series is going to be respectful, physical. We've had our battles. The Knicks have had success over the last 5 years over Detroit, but now it's a brand new day, right? They've tripled their win total. And going back since All-Star break, the Pistons are a top 10 team in the league. They're ranked 9 in net rating as well. So JB, their coach, says we haven't played the Knicks at full strength, so they're going to be a different team. We know how elite they are in clutch situations, Brunson, Hart, and those guys' ability to make winning plays. We're going to have to go out and earn it. We're confident we can. So, yeah, look, the coach, JB's been talking sense. He knows what the task is, what's ahead of the Detroit Pistons. He's trying to keep a lid on things. I can tell that he's just trying to keep a lid on it. But when the whistle gets blown, man, tempers are going to be up. Adrenaline is going to be up. Buzzer says, is Scott Perry going to re-sign Mario Hezonja again, man? You know what? He might be bringing in Emmanuel Boudier. Trey Burke is the guy that he drafted a few times as well. I like it. You guys are on fire. I can feel the energy in the building. I can feel the hype. And now, without further ado, guys, there's a poll in the chat as well. We'll review that at the end of the stream tonight. We'll go about an hour, and we'll check in to see what your predictions are. But as I said, I've added 10 burning questions now, the biggest questions heading into this series. So let's touch on the first one. Ranked in order 10, least important. I feel down to number 1, right? Number 10, could we see some early rust? And by the way, if you have your own questions, you know the drill. By all means, throw them in there, and I'll be happy to make a detour and address any burning questions you guys have. But these are mine, first and foremost. So, number 10, could we see some early rust? It was a very funky end to the season. I don't think it could be put any other way. We had JB out for the last kind of 2 months, or the second last month to the season. Worked his way back, played 5 games, interruptions with lineups, and different scheduling challenges as well. So, could we see some early rust? I mean, the team hasn't played ball for 6 days. How much rest is too much rest if you buy into that? Also, if Tibbs is going to play the double big lineups, he could be setting himself up to early rust as well, because he hasn't gone to that enough. Knicks fan base been crying out for Tibbs to be playing the double big lineups a lot more, and he just hasn't done it enough. So, yeah, I'll tip my cap if Tibbs does want to try those lineups a lot more. But one could speculate that it might be rusty. Those two haven't played enough ball together. Also, the captain, he's only played 5-6 games in about 2 months now. If we're looking at the 6 days rest and the 15 games that he missed, combined with the 5 games that he returned as well. Tendrell says, how long before Stewart gets his first tech? I feel like we'll see a tech in the first 2 games, definitely. Maybe not game 1, but if frustration creeps in after they lose the first one, Dirty says Brunson, though, his ankle is 8 days healthier. Bad news for them. Yeah, that is a big factor. And spoiler alert, I'm going to speak on that in another burning question. But yeah, health is wealth, as we know, fam. So yeah, I'll happily trade a little bit of rust for extra health. You know, to me, there's no doubt about it. Right? It's a 7 game series. We can always work our way into it. Just scrap out the win. You know, scrap out the win, game one, and then continue to build that momentum as the series goes. But um, whilst they haven't played a game in over a week, there's been practice, multiple film sessions. So, yeah, the Knicks have looked sharp after any, substantial break that they've had throughout this season. So, to really answer the question, could we see some early rust? Yeah, absolutely. Um, is it going to be a major factor? I don't think so. I think these guys have played enough minutes together, in the words of Tom Thibodeau. Um, to know each other's tendencies. You just got to go out there and execute. And look, if there is rust, there has to be rust on both sides. Detroit are obviously coming in. A lot of their players, this is new to them. In speaking of their younger players, Ron Holland, Jalen Duran, Tobias Harris is their most experienced guy. Cade is obviously very new to this all as well. So there's going to be a huge spotlight on Cade Cunningham, and he's going to feature heavily in one of the biggest burning questions later as we go tonight. We're about as healthy as you could possibly want. So how long is that going to last? I pray to the b-ball gods. We're due for some luck right now. And it looks like Atlanta have taken the lead, 91-90 with 7 to play in the fourth. So we'll keep you up to speed with that one, fam. But I'm loving the buzz in the chat right now. Let's move along. I'll do a recap as well later in the stream of all the questions. But biggest question, number 9, heading into this series for me. How much stock do we put into the regular season matchups heading into this series? First round, the Pistons are 3-1. We know the last game, the Knicks were in control. They collapsed, but no OG, no Hart, no Mitch. PJ Tucker playing major minutes. I think PJ combined with Precious played a total of 69 minutes, fam. So that is crazy, right? So the last game, it's a scrap. It's a scratch. The other 3 games, you can obviously put stock into it, but how much stock? I'm not putting too much into it because, one, no Mitch. We know he's pivotal to the Knicks' best version of their defense. There is no best version of the Knicks' defense without Mitchell Robinson, right? It just isn't the case. We could play Hart, Mikal, OG, Hukporti or Precious and put out some really good lineups defensively, but there's no best version, I think, without Mitchell Robinson. So you automatically have to really put an asterisk over some of these. Osar Thompson didn't play in the first matchup as well that the Knicks won. The Knicks forced 22 turnovers in that matchup when the Knicks won November 1st. But Jaden Ivey did play in that game as well. But he's a turnover machine as well. And yeah, the Knicks forced a lot of turnovers and won by 25 plus that night. What other things can we put stock into? I mean, you can put stock into Cade, the success Cade has had, a 6'7" point guard. He's been able to use his size down low in the post, bully Mikal Bridges a little bit in the pick and roll. We know what they're going to try to do, pull JB into a lot of the actions. But on the other side, offensively, the Knicks will use Josh Hart as a screener to, as the off guy that they want to sag off and bring Jalen Duran into the action, right? They're going to try to put Jalen Duran on Josh Hart, and so that Tobias can guard Cat, right? But the Knicks can counter that by bringing in Josh Hart as the screener, and his man is going to have to either, force the switch onto JB, or Osara is just going to have to fight over the screen. I don't think they're going to put Cade guarding JB. I think they know the importance. I mean, Bickerstaff got smoked by Brunson, 2 years ago. He knows what Brunson is all about, fam. So I don't think he's gonna gamble and try to put Cade on JB early. I think he will put Osar. I think that's how much stock he's put into the regular season. But obviously, for film session purposes, Thibodeau, if he wants to earn his calling card as the elite defensive coach, he would have had to put together a lot of game plans. So let's see how the Knicks look in comparison to those 3 losses against the Pistons. The dual big lineups, we're going to speak on that later. And obviously talk about how important that is going to be with this one. But yeah, in terms of how much stock I'm putting into these regular season matchups, 3 wins to the Pistons, 1 to the Knicks, I would say, 5 out of 10, man. 5 out of 10. You could draw on maybe 50% of what we've seen, but the other 50% you could throw out the window, man. When the whistle blows in the playoffs, it's a different ball game. As you guys are on fire. Yeah, ATL's come back as well. Let's do a quick score check right now. They're up 93-90 with 6.5 to play. Trae Young's got 20. Okongwu's got 20. Georges Niang's got 18 as well. Karis LeVert with 15. And Wiggins and Hero with 16 and 17 apiece. Right. I knew the Heat would struggle scoring. I mean, I don't really know how the Bulls lost that game. I mean, there's only one guy on the Heat that can really beat you, which is Tyler Hero. And they let him get loose. Now, next up, let's pull this other screen up as well. Let's look at the matchups too. But question number 8, biggest question number 8, how much will rest play a factor? I think it's huge. The Knicks have looked sharp all season coming off the rest period. After the All-Star break, they put together a run. OG flipped the switch. He turned from OG Anunoby to OG Demanoby after All-Star break. Bridges looked better as well. Obviously, after JB went down, the rest is going to be key because at no point in the season outside of that All-Star period did the Knicks say they could have 9 days rest, 6 days, sorry. But obviously a lot of players have rested in some of those late regular season games as well, right? There's been a lot of minutes and a lot of load put on these players. Pause. And obviously Hart dealing with the knee tendinopathy, Cat grimacing at times throughout the season as well. OG's been really healthy this season as well. Thank you to the medical staff as well. Casey Smith coming into the building, helping our guys out. It's been huge. And so I feel like rest, the Knicks will sell out in the first 2 games. I think there'll be heavy minutes. There's been plenty of rest, and I feel like, they should be ready to go. Nobody's going to be in 100% health because you're still dealing with, some end of the season knocks and bruises and fatigue, mental fatigue perhaps. But focus is going to play a part. And if you've had rest, then we all know that, rest is a major key to looking healthy, looking sharp. Johnny says Detroit's coach is always arguing with his assistants. Yeah, I feel like he's going to blame the officials at some point in the season if the Knicks get the rub of the green. Julian says, I think they've practiced the double big lineup in practice multiple times. It will be fine. Yeah, hopefully, man. I like it. Hopefully, with Hukporti now fully healthy, there's options. But yeah, with the rest, I feel like we should see. Maybe with the rust aside, we should see the most focused, version of the Knicks than we've seen for a minute, locked in as well. There's only one opponent they have to worry about. They don't have to worry about which flight they got to catch tomorrow, which hotel that they're getting in at 2 a.m., what their schedule is like. They just literally got to focus on one opponent right now. So I feel like we will see a sharp version of the New York Knicks. Next up, the seventh biggest question I feel like that could affect this series. How will the officials affect the calls, and the calls affect the games and the series? I feel like this can go for and against the Knicks because adjusting is going to be key. That's something that the Knicks haven't really done well when their backs have been to the wall. We all know it, man. We've seen Karl Anthony Towns, like, every single play that he feels like he's got hit, quabble with the referees, fall to the ground, slow to get up. The other team's getting a transition basket. Thibodeau just has to put his foot down right now, if he hasn't already, and say, just no complaining, man. This is the playoffs now, and it's demons only, fam. Demons only got to step up. And yeah, they're going to get calls. We're going to be heated. We're going to be frustrated. We're going to get calls throughout the series. They're going to get frustrated as well. But the way I see it going is, as usual, the refs will be loose. I think the refs might be a little bit loose early. They know this is going to be a really physical series, and there's no way that they can call it tight to begin with, because there's just going to be a lot of players foul out. A lot of players, it'll be an ugly spectacle. I think everyone's tuning in. Every neutral is tuning into this series because they know what they're going to get. It's going to be spicy. People will be tuning in just to see Isaiah Stewart pick up a technical, or Pistons fans, casuals, trying to see if he can ruffle up some feathers and see how that plays out, right? Maybe if the Pistons get confidence early in the series, they might start flexing a bit more and puffing their chest out, if the Knicks allow them that as well. So the Knicks got to keep their cool. The officials will have their say in this series right now, most likely due to foul trouble, not necessarily, melees and brawls, etc. But I feel like I'm looking at Karl Anthony Towns, I'm looking at Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, and those guys to stay out of foul trouble. OG obviously is critical to staying out of foul trouble as well, but he's been pretty disciplined, and there's really not a lot to worry about with him. Mikal Bridges really isn't overly physical on defense. He'll have to step up that physicality. Maybe that counts against him when he's having to adjust. Osar Thompson, that's a big one because he's definitely going to try to be physical with JB. As we see that cross matchup, I think Cade will probably be guarding Mikal early, or Timmy, and then Osar will be guarding Jalen Brunson. So if Jalen Brunson can bait Osar Thompson into some early fouls, he's young. I don't even know if he's old enough to drink. He's going to be in the brightest stage, the biggest spotlight. Osar Thompson's a phenomenal defender, but if he's not focused up here and he tries to be overly physical with JB, I could see him getting into foul trouble early as well. Isaiah Stewart's been dealing with some knee problems as well. And so if he can't move his feet as well, he might pick up a few fouls on a Karl Anthony Towns drive. He could get into foul trouble early as well. Kaiser says, man, I can't wait. Johnny says, CT follow-up. Which Nick will benefit from the rest the most? I say Hart. Yeah, I like that. I think that's a great shout, Johnny. I feel like Hart, and I feel like I've probably got to say Mikal and OG next up. All of our wings, our wings have played the most. Cat's had plenty of rest in and out recently, but yeah, I feel like OG, as I said, was a demon after All-Star break, and he basically looked like a completely different player. And in terms of Mikal, yeah, we all know what a taxing season it's been for Mikal Bridges. He's been putting more ball screens in one season than he has in his entire career, fam, as our point of attack defender as well. It'll be interesting to see if Tibbs adjusts that. But yeah, Mikal, some think that he was complaining about the minutes. Some say he was more advocating for his comrades to get more minutes off the bench. Either way, I got to feel somewhere deep down inside, Mikal Bridges will be hoping that he had slightly less minutes, man. He does want to play every game and keep his streak going, man. So yeah, great follow-up, great question to that one. Yeah, in terms of, just to recap how the officials will call it, with Hukporti healthy now, I feel like the Knicks are deeper in the front court. And so, yeah, if Isaiah Stewart, your knees are hurting or he's in foul trouble, then the Pistons are in a world of trouble right now. A young Jalen Duren, who's known to be ill-disciplined as well, he's going to be put through the ringer in terms of having to anchor the paint. And yeah, a few Karl Anthony Towns drives, maybe he does get the rub of the benefit early and get a few and ones. I feel like Cat will come out aggressive. I'll talk a lot more about Cat. Spoiler alert, he's very high up in the burning questions. But Karl Anthony Towns, man, he was traded in the summer. He was coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance. He was that close to touching the NBA Finals. So I feel like he's coming into this situation and he's going to be like, I'm going to stamp my authority on this thing, man. I'm the big dog in this series right now. So lots to look forward to when talking about Karl Anthony Towns. But we all know his kryptonite. It's the foul baiting, the complaining, and the lack of focus. And obviously on both sides, ill-disciplined fouls with his hands, and also offensively, the straight line drives, out of control, losing control of the rock as well. So regardless of how Cat plays, I hope we just get the most focused version of Karl Anthony Towns, the most disciplined and the most focused. And if he's not, I need somebody in that locker room to pull him aside, man, whether it's JB, the captain, whether it's PJ Tucker, whether it's somebody else, OG Anunoby. Those two have a good connection. They wear each other's armband. Yeah, I want to see a focused Cat. And so that is the burning question number 7. How will the officials call it? Next up, biggest question number 6. How the young Pistons handle the stage. Right, let's just go through it. Who's been through the ringer before? We have Tobias. They've had Malik Beasley. They've had Dennis Schroeder. And that's about it. Timmy Hardaway. So Tobias, Timmy Hardaway, basically only 2 players in their starting 5 have experience. Cade, Osar, and Jalen Duren have no playoff experience. So only 2 of their 5 starters have touched the playoffs. All 5 of our starters have touched the playoffs. Off their bench, Stewart hasn't. I think Fontecchio has. Ron Holland hasn't. Malik Beasley and Schroeder has as well. So that rests the case. How will the Pistons handle that stage? The lights are the brightest. Quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, says the great Mike Tyson. I feel in that one. So yeah, they can game plan, they can scheme, they can feel confident about how they had success in the regular season. But ain't nothing going to prepare these young Pistons for what's to come in the first 2 ball games, right? Malik Beasley can do his little shimmy and all of that, right? But if we don't allow that, then he's going to have a hard time, with the crowd going crazy. We all know how hype the arena is going to be. It's going to be electric. Some of the times Clyde and Breen, they can't hear each other sometimes. They can't hear the whistle. I feel like every year, Madison Square Garden, the decibel levels go to a new level, right? As the Knicks get more expectations, more fans are hype as well. So, yeah, if the Pistons have success in this series, they're going to have earned every single thing, because I can't see the Pistons winning 4 games out of 7. I just can't. And I've already given my prediction. It's Knicks in 6. But if the Knicks win the first 2 games, then I think I'm going to swing more towards ending in 5. But if the Pistons can split the first 2, then I think it's going to go at least 6. But yeah, if they don't handle the first 2 games, it could get really ugly. for them. So let's see how that plays out. But yeah, look at that inexperienced starting five from the Pistons. As it looks like we've got some more updates with the Heat and the Hawks. The Hawks are throwing it away, man. We've got 10 seconds left. Heat 106, the Hawks 104. Right, one possession ball game, season on the line. It looks like George Niang took the shot. Kaiser and Dirty says Niang just sold the game. Quinn Snyder, man, I think he had higher stock before he went to the Hawks. I haven't been that impressed with him since going to the Hawks. He had high stock when he was out in Utah. So let's see how that plays out. Now let's get to the top five, ladies and gentlemen. We've moved into the top five burning questions now. Now things get real serious, right? As I do that, let me just bring up the graphic of the big news today that Ariel Hukporti has been upgraded to questionable. We see that Demon, the rookie, right? He could be the biggest factor in this postseason out of all rooks. Biggest question number 5, Tibbs and a Big's temptation, right? It's been on everyone's mind, everyone's mouth all season. Mitchell Robinson, when is he going to get back? Then he finally got back. It was later than expected. It was early March when it was predicted to be early Jan, late December. Ended up being early March. And then we just didn't get enough momentum. We had ups and downs. We had the All-Star break. We didn't have enough backup help for Tibbs to start and deploy Cat together with Mitchell Robinson enough, right? But with a full availability now of Knicks bigs, with full rest, no minutes restriction as well, and Hukporti practicing and getting upgraded now, how and when will we see these big lineups, fam? Give us your predictions, right? I want him to start Mitch. That's how far, how much of a believer I am in terms of how much success the Knicks would have. I feel like Mitch should start, especially if Hukporti's healthy. But I understand that Mitch and his health is still a dicey proposition, and it's still a situation where, having him available is the most important thing. And so I could see Tibbs starting Cat only and playing Josh Hart, and then keeping the dual big lineups as maybe that ace up his sleeve, maybe that's the Joker's ace up his sleeve, But either way, I would love to see those two play big minutes alongside each other, because I do feel like Detroit's going to have to cross match in a way where it's going to expose Detroit, Isaiah Stewart's dealing with knee issues as well, right? And Paul Reed, if we see Paul Reed in this series, then the Knicks will be having success. Bet your bottom dollar on that, right? And then if they do have to have B Stu off the bench, they'll have to have Isaiah Stewart. They'll have to have Tobias Harris, guarding Cat, right? And that's the matchup we want, right? I want Tobias on Cat, so that he can have some post touches as well throughout the series. Oh, looks like it's going down to the wire. Hero missed a free throw. Yep, we're following the Heat Hawk series. But yeah, I think that's enough said on that, man. I want Mitch to play 30 plus, arguably, because I feel like if we seal off the paint, right, we're just going to force Detroit to have to be a perimeter team, and Cade Cunningham likes to use his size, right? If we can guard the 3-point line and seal the paint, the Knicks will make this a very short series, fam, as well. So one of the biggest keys to this series is the big lineups, in my opinion, fam. So that is biggest question number 5. Gibbs, and how much will he deploy the bigs? But yeah, shout out to Hukporti now that he's fully healthy. Moving on, biggest question, number 4. Will the Bucks stop with Wingstop? I've put them ahead of the big situation, right? The Knicks wings, the Bucks stops with them, no doubt about it. Mikal Bridges, if he has a good series, the Knicks win. OG Anunoby would probably be my prediction to be player of the series, right? That's how confident I am in OG being a major factor in every single game. Josh Hart has been up and he's been down. He's been dealing with mental block. He's been dealing with knee soreness. He's been dealing with criticism. The buck has to stop with Wingstop, ladies and gentlemen. If the Knicks wings have their best series, we win easily right now. Their biggest threats are on the wing. Cade, Malik Beasley, Ron Holland, Fontecchio, Schroeder. The Knicks have to lock down the wing situation. Timmy Hardaway, right? I'm not worried about Tobias Harris. I'm just not. I'm not worried about Jalen Duren or Beef Stew, right? Right. If we make them scorers, then it'll be to our benefit. Or Sarah Thompson as well. He can't score with the best of them, right? He's an elite defensive demon, but again, if we force him to have to make shots and make plays, then advantage New York Knicks. So one of the things that I've noticed is we haven't really had a lot of games where Bridges, OG, and Hart have all thrived together at the same time. Now, most of that was when JB was out. I feel like, we saw a lot of Bridges on the ball. We saw a lot of OG and Hart when Brunson was out. Now that Brunson is back, it's going to be key. And as I talk about in a later burning question, getting those guys involved offensively is going to be key, right? They have to be engaged on both sides of the rock because Bridges can score. He can give us 20, 25 points and be a game breaker. So can OG and so can Hart. So the Pistons are going to have their hands full with these guys in a major way. Honestly, I'm only worried about Cade and Beasley. Yeah, Kaiser, 100%. Look, Tobias could have one game where Tobias Harris is like, okay, he just hits that turnaround fade. He gets positioned down low on the block. Timmy Hardaway might have one game where he hits a couple of threes in a row and we're late to contest. But yeah, the true guys that I'm really worried about over the 4-game series, over winning 4 games, is Cade and Malik. Exactly like you said, fam. And just on that Wingstop situation, before we move to number 3, I thought this was funny, man. Hart spoke on getting Suni Lee and Anne Hathaway to every single game, right, to get the best version of OG Demon Obi. Look at the man, smiling, and he's definitely shone with some extra attention on the sidelines. Suni Lee, USA gold medalist, Olympian, and Anne Hathaway when he fell in her lap in that one, man. Deuce McBride fallen in also. Jennifer Hudson, man. That one had a different effect, I feel like. But yeah, man, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, the wing stop is going to be serving all you can eat in this series. We talked about the bigs as well. Now, what's burning question number 3, fam? Let's bring up the graphic. All right, burning question number 3. Cat, the big bodega is 3 times the man from downtown, right? The 3-point attempts from Karl Anthony Towns is a major issue and has to increase, right? How many threes does Cat get up is a big advantage for the New York Knicks because Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, they don't want to come out there, man. And we haven't exploited, Tom Thibodeau hasn't exploited this enough. throughout the series, right? The Knicks had success in the game where they limited threes and they shot threes as well against the Pistons. But all season, we've seen when Karl Anthony Towns can kill a game with his own 3-point shot, and he needs to get those threes up. Jalen Brunson needs to, to find him, right, on the pick and pops, right? If Boston can exploit that against us over and over and over and over with Kristaps like he did in the last game, there's no real reason why Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns can't exploit that against Detroit, right? So Karl Anthony Towns has to find a way. He can't fall in love with that out of control drive, and basically, turn it over and force the referees to make a non-foul call, right? So healthy diet of threes and post-ups and drives to the lane, mix it up. But we have to get those 3-point attempts up from Karl Anthony Towns, right? I would sign up for 5 to 6, right? It's been under that for most of the season, right? I would sign up for at least 5 to 6 cat 3-point attempts from downtown. Ideally 8 to 10. I'm not going to lie, man. Ideally 8 to 10, because those shots are going to be there. They're going to be, a lot of them are pick and pop, wide open, uncontested. And it could be one of the best looks we get in our offense. They are going to try to, play tough on Brunson and swarm him, trap him and double. They are going to force Mikal Bridges to have to, get downhill and make some plays, right? And so the perimeter should be open for Cat. Jalen Duran out on the perimeter could be barbecue chicken. Like I said, if Boston can do it, we have one of the best shooting bigs in the league, and we went out there and we made that move, right? And it's had its moments, but we haven't exploited it enough. You don't trade for Karl Anthony Towns just to not shoot threes, right? It makes no sense, and would probably be one of the biggest reasons Thibodeau would get fired, I think, if he was not able to stay, because he just hasn't gotten the best out of this, his roster. Tendrell says the anticipation killing me. No Knicks game since last Sunday. Man, I feel you. That's why I'm glad to be here chopping this up. Dirty says OG has a baby with Suni, and it will be 5'8". OG has a son already. Did you guys know? His name's Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley the third. Johnny says, I'd rather see Cat shoot open threes from downtowns than driving into that traffic. Yeah, you know it, fam. So many things can go wrong when Cat drives into traffic. He could fall on his ankle and hurt himself. He could, barrel into Isaiah Stewart and those two, get into a scuffle. He falls over and falls on the ground and they get a transition basket. So much can go wrong, man. And then he can also just complain to the officials and be slow getting back on D. Fam. So, quick score check. The Heat Hawks are in overtime right now. The Heat are up 117 to 111 with 1:55 left to play in OT. The Hawks have lost their composure, says Kaiser. Michael Drake's in the building. Great to see you, Michael. Says, Detroit's been talking smack, CT, since we've been playing Detroit. The Knicks will be balling out. Watch. I feel like everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth. And Detroit, everyone likes to talk before the series begins, right? Just like Paul Reed last season. But we're going to be the ones to just show up, and let our play do the talking, fam. So I'm excited. I'm hyped for this. And yeah, to basically stamp our authority as the earlier seed. But yeah, I can't state this enough. You guys already understand, man. If you watch the Knicks all season, the 3-point attempts are a big swing in terms of whether the Knicks win or the Pistons win. But the Pistons will be hunting more threes. I know that for a fact. So we have to either win the possession game and get more possessions than them via offensive rebounds or whatever it is, or turnovers, forcing turnovers, or we have to get more threes up. If they outshoot us from three, there's a great chance they could win if their defense can slow us down. If we either win the possession battle or get more threes up, then it'll definitely be heavily in our favor, right? So now we're moving into the penultimate biggest question for me heading into this series, and we'll do a recap. Anyone just joining us, salute, smash that like button, right? I think you might know where this thing's going right now. If you notice the trend, number 2, will the real point guard stand up? Jalen Brunson versus Cade Cunningham right now. We all know that both of the stars of their team, both can score with the best of them. But I think this series is going to come down to who can have the biggest impact setting up their teams, right? Under the pressure of the trap, the blitz, the physicality, who can be the one to read and react and not hunt for their shot 100% of the time and actually set guys up, setting a Beasley up, setting a Timmy Hardaway or a Tobias, right? Cade can't score all night, all series. He has to get somebody going. And on the flip side, Jalen Brunson can't be attacking, Thompson all night, all series either. He's going to wear down. And so, it could come down to who gets more assists as a team, who can get out in transition, 4 stops, but who can execute in the half court. Jalen Brunson has been the clutch player of the season for me because he's so great in isolation, but he's also fallen in love with, hunting for his shot a little bit too much. But also, I feel like this has probably been a season where he could have done better playmaking. He could have done better. He's had great games, playmaking. He's had, over 10 assists, 8 assists a lot. But now's the time to fully weaponize the teammates that he has at his disposal. The silver lining to Brunson missing 15 games was that the Knicks were above 500 in those games. And also, he got to see firsthand how dangerous OG Anunoby, how dangerous Mikal Bridges can be. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns and getting those threes up as well. And getting Mikal Bridges going, I see a lot of people clown Mikal Bridges for shying away and not getting those, getting 6 shots up in one of those games. Well, you got to put some of that responsibility on the point guard, because Bridges ain't the one bringing the ball up the court. It's the point guard. It's the point guard right now. And a point guard's number 1 job should always be to run the offense, right? Yeah, in moments their role will be to score as well, but their number 1 role should be to make sure that everyone's, eating, everyone's drinking, everyone's feeling good. If Cat hasn't seen the ball in 6 straight possessions, you get him the ball. If Bridges has been frozen out, get him going downhill. Call him into the action. OG as well. Right? I don't want all these guys standing around in the corner while Brunson, over dribbles against Thompson. So that's one of my biggest keys to this series, fam. Let's just pull up the update. Looks like the Miami Heat are going to secure, fam, the 8th seed for the rights to play Cleveland, fam. All right, credit to the Heat. I don't think the Hawks would have really given the Cavaliers much to think about anyway. I don't really think that the Heat will be able to trouble the Cleveland Cavaliers either. But I do think the Heat have slightly more depth, right, and will be better defensively, right? Trae Young will get killed by Cleveland, right? Miami have at least got some defensive players that they can go. So 18 seconds left. The Heat are up by 9. Kaiser says CT Hart been bringing the ball up the court as well. Yeah, I think that's going to be a big key as well. Yeah, the playmaking in general. Hart, especially as a secondary playmaker fam, is going to be key as well. Him and Brunson in the two-man game with the pick and roll. I feel like Hart will be one of the biggest screeners in this series because Duren. If Hart starts, the benefit of that is that Jalen Duren will be on him on defense, and then Tobias Harris will try to guard Cat because they don't want Jalen Duren guarding Cat. He's going to be pulling him out of the paint. They won't have any rim protection, and also Duren could get into foul trouble. When Duren's guarding Josh Hart, he's not going to get into any foul trouble. So the Knicks need to counter that by getting Hart handling the rock to make the Pistons cross match. If Hart's bringing the ball up the court, one of their guards has to come to him because Jalen Duren's not going to be able to pull up, a guard Hart, in the backcourt. So yeah, Hart key, playmaking, handling the rock together as well. Lonnie Meek, salute, says when Brunny was out, Hart was a good distributor and the offense moved the ball. Yeah, he was definitely a heads-up guy, man. He finds the cutters, he finds the, dude's back door as well. And he's good for his own bucket, getting to the paint and drawing a foul, collapsing the D, finishing in transition as well, man. I feel like we're going to see a boosted up, rested Lionheart in this one as well. So yeah, the playmaking of JB and Hart is going to be key. Hopefully the Knicks can get 28 to 30 plus assists because our record is very high with those guys distributing. Johnny says, which point guard will adjust to the doubles better, JB or Cade? That's a good shout. I feel like both have the capability, man. They have a very, very high IQ, man, high pedigree. I'm going to say it's probably going to be slightly easier for JB because he's been there and done that. He knows when the double is coming. Cade has the height. And he's definitely can see over the D. But I've seen a lot of people point this out, and especially Pistons fans, that Cade is turnover prone. He can get sloppy with the rock, throwing it out of bounds into the fourth row. He can also... he hasn't seen a whole heap of doubles, all series. The Knicks could just go to it and just double, and make Tobias, make Tim Hardaway, make Osar Thompson the shooter as well, fam. One thing I know though, Thibodeau doesn't like to double a lot. He just hasn't done it much. So that'll be super fascinating, fam. But where I give the edge, ultimately, guys, it comes down to experience. And it comes to scoring, I feel like Jalen Brunson is a more dynamic scorer in the half court right now. Cade's coming. He's super dangerous. He can put up 25 to 30. But he's not... There's a level between Jalen Brunson, the half court scorer, and I think Cade. Distributing-wise, I think it's pretty even. But I give the edge to our guy as the real point guard to step up in this series, fam, as well. Been there, done that as well. And you don't get your name put alongside Michael Jordan if you're a scrub, Cade Cunningham doesn't have the points. He doesn't have runs on the board yet in order to, to know tangibly what we can see. We just don't know yet. He could shrink under the pressure, Just to use this as an example, like Julius Randle, not to throw a stray at Julius, because Julius is just a good example because he was an elite regular season player, but when the playoffs hit early in that ATL series, we just didn't know what kind of Randle we were going to get. Randle's a very talented playmaker, but he just wasn't able to playmake effectively. He was turning it over, and he just wasn't able to see the double. Process what's going on. Fast enough. Now, Cade Cunningham is a point guard. He has a higher B-ball IQ, but he also hasn't been there yet as well. So we'll see. We'll see what Thibodeau can cook up in terms of what we're going to get with this situation with the point guards. Kaiser also says McBride was actually the point guard when Brunson was out. we got to see a few games of that, but also we got to see a lot of DeLon Wright too. So yeah, we'll talk more about in the final question when that's done. We'll talk a little bit more about rotations and who we're going to see. But without further ado, fam, as Buzzer Beater says, CT, it's money time. Blow my horn, my guy. There we go. There we go. Back at it, ladies and gentlemen. The final question, the biggest question on my mind right now relating to the New York Knicks. Will the best version of New York shine? It's been a roller coaster season, man. I feel like this series will come down to coaching and execution under the biggest pressure. You know, there's been expectations this season. There's been pressure from the fans, the spotlight, the media, you know, the new pieces from Bridges and Cat. But there hasn't been the level of pressure that's going to be faced when the playoffs start, right? And under the biggest pressure, can the best version of the New York Knicks that we've seen throughout spurts of the season, spurts of last season, etc., can the best version of themselves shine, right? And this is basically a continuation of past the first round, you know, second round, because I'm expecting the Knicks to get past this challenge, right? But we will learn a lot about our team throughout this series, you know, how dominant they can be, how they deal with pressure. If they lose one of the first two games, I'm not going to be, well, I can't really say fully because I don't know how the games are going to end, but let's just say both games, let's say the first two games are a split and they're both really hard fought, even games, and there's been nothing really egregious, then I'll say that I'm still confident that the Knicks will win, right? And you know, they will have to answer the call to early pressure. But the Knicks have bounced back. The Knicks have bounced back all season. You know, their record after a loss has been above 500. So any time that they've faced a poor loss or a angry, frustrating loss, they've bounced back when healthy. The last, you know, the three bad losses were different. You know, the Boston, Detroit, Cleveland losses. You know, the different players were out, but everybody's healthy now. So theoretically, guys, we should be seeing the best version of our team. You know, should we not? There's no outliers. We're not be like, oh, you know what, but Brunson's still a bit banged up, or you know what, Mitch has just come back. No, there's no real questions for me right now. Everybody's fully healthy, and this is on the players and the coach, right? Nobody else right now. Now's the time to be playing the best version of New York Knicks basketball, you know? And I think if you asked the Knicks fan base to describe this season in just one word, that the word probably that might get used the most is roller coaster. Roller coaster, maybe inconsistent, maybe underwhelming, maybe question marks, you know, something along those lines. And so, yeah, there's been players come in and out. Thibodeau hasn't really, you know, figured out the best version of this team yet, I don't feel. The identity, maybe. And that is because he hasn't really used Mitchell Robinson enough, I think, since coming back. But there's a big caveat because he could be saving this for all this time. In his mind, he might be like, yeah, I've always known the best version of the Knicks is together with Mitchell Robinson and Cat. But health permitting, I don't want to risk that. You know, I know we're good enough to get wins and I want to save it for the postseason. So could be that, man. Johnny says JB is the key to let other players shine unless his hero ball is required. Yep. Definitely, when push comes to shove, Johnny, I think Brunson is the best player in the series still, and he can take over the game late and win the game just off his own shot. But I feel like that would be a cop-out because I feel like if you look at starting five versus starting five, top to bottom, I think anyone if they told you the Detroit Pistons are more talented, they would be lying. You know, if you just go Brunson, Bridges, OG, Cat, Hart, or Mitchell Robinson, whoever, versus Cade, Thompson, um, Timmy Hardaway, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren, right? The Knicks have more talent in starting five, point blank. And so Brunson should utilize that and get everyone going, you know. That'll that'll take pressure off of him, you know. Let's see we see a OG takeover. That's going to be great because that's just going to say, all right, Detroit, you know, over to you. You know, what are you going to do? You know, you've game planned to slow down Brunson. Now you've got to try to stop OG, and that's going to force them to cross match. You know, they might have to take Timmy Hardaway off him or Cade off of him, and put or Sarah Thompson onto OG, and then that's going to allow JB to go at Hardaway or go at Cade. You know, so Brunson, you know, his IQ, he'll understand. But obviously, my biggest worry, guys, and I've said this all season, is Tom Thibodeau's system with offensive, uh, lack of play calls, lack of X's and O's in terms of reading and reacting. Because, you know, guys have to get in positions and they have to do it in real time. And you have to be high IQ to do that over and over and over and execute with what the defense has given you. And if the defense keeps changing, let's say they throw zone after a timeout, the Knicks will have to execute out of that zone. Let's say the next possession they blitz JB, all right, then everyone has to read and react to what's happening. So yeah, I feel like, you know, talent v talent, the Knicks have that talent. I think it's going to come down to coaching and executing under the biggest pressure, right? These games could get close. And so how are we going to execute after timeouts, all of that? And that is the reason why Tom Thibodeau might not survive this postseason run. You know, there will be serious question marks over that. Johnny says Detroit are definitely underdogs. And Paula says the Knicks need to win this first round series, period. Yeah, they will. They will. Buzzer says everyone's talking greasy about us. CT, if we lose the first game, are we in serious trouble? Definitely not in serious trouble. The first two games are more of a even playing field, I feel, because the first game you're always most vulnerable, fam. 6 days rest, you know, people feeling each other out, filling out process, all of that. As the series goes along, I think the Knicks would get more confident. But I feel like Detroit, if they win one of the first two, you know, the series will obviously go longer. You know, the series will most likely go 6. If the Knicks can win the first two, I think it's going to be over in 5. Paula says, yeah, you know what I don't want to hear? That the team came out flat. That's what I don't want to hear. You and me both. And that's a great comment. I feel like we won't see that, though. I feel like the crowd just won't allow that. You know, the crowd won't allow that. Maybe come out a little bit rusty. As I summarize my biggest questions, I think that was number 10. You know, could we see some early rust? I think there's more likeliness we'll see rust on both sides, you know, because Detroit haven't faced a fully healthy Knicks recently and for most of the season without Mitch, but they didn't face OG and Hart in that last matchup. I think the crowd will be crazy as well. The Knicks just got to play more quarters than the Pistons. You know, the Pistons might have one great quarter, whether it's the first quarter, the fourth, the third. But if the Knicks can play 3 quarters towards Pistons 1 quarter, I think that'll be too much for them to overcome. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to be drawn into their fake bad boy stuff, right? We've got some guys we can throw out there with size. We've got Mitch, we've got Hukporti, PJ Tucker as well. So, you know, let them talk spicy. Right now, we do have the runs on the board all season. Kaiser says the first play, I need to see Cat and a Brunson pick and roll. Pick and pop. I really want to see Cat, yeah, like you said, drop a open 3 with a pick and pop, get Duren. into that pick and pop. Buzzer says, I got a duck. Great show. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Let's see you tomorrow night as we pick up this win. Kaiser says, this is my key, is will Hart hit those open threes? They're going to double off Hart a lot, and he can't make them. If he can't make them pay, then it will be tough. But if he can, we will sweep. Yeah, that's a great shout too, man. I really feel like Hart usually, when he gets a lot of practice, he usually gets into some kind of rhythm. We saw that against Cleveland in a series. We saw that against Philadelphia as well. But if I'm not worried early, because I feel like Hart can get Duren into the pick and roll. He can be the screener for JB. He can also just be the playmaker and bring the ball up the court. Let Brunson operate off ball. I feel like that's going to keep Brunson fresh as well. As I look at burning question number 8, how much will rest play a factor? I think, Johnny asked me earlier in the chat, I feel like who would benefit the most from the rest? And he said Hart. And I agreed. But I could also make a case for JB. Because JB missed an entire month of the regular season. And he also rested throughout some of these last few games. And then he's also had 6 days rest. So there could be a little bit of rust, but you can't say that he's not going to be rested, I don't think Jalen Brunson's been rested this much in his entire pro career. Missing an entire month as well. So that's been a key as well, right? So as I said, Miami facing Cleveland right now. We have the Orlando Magic facing off against the Boston Celtics, right? We'll have the Pistons, Knicks, and we have the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Indiana Pacers, right? Let's give our predictions for all of the series, for all of them now. Let's pull it up. Before we do that, take a quick look at the uniform schedule as well. So just so there's no surprises. Game 1, the Knicks are going to be in their classic. I like that, the classic white associations. Game 2, as the home team, we'll be bringing out the statement, the navy blue. Bam. That's interesting that we're not going to go with the home whites for both. Game 3 will be with our icon, the classic blue. Game 4 as well will be icon, classic blue on the road as Road Warriors, fam. So it looks like the Pistons will be in their blue for game 1, and the Pistons will be in their white for game 2. Now I'm bringing up the entire playoff schedule. We have the ESPN panel. For those that have missed it, all 10 clean sweep. Predict Knicks, 0 predictions for the Pistons as well. So the Knicks do have pressure on them coming into this series as the favorites right now. Right, that doesn't have the new full play-in schedule. So let me pull this all up. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start from the top. Tendrell says no city edition. Thank God. Yeah, the court as well. We get to keep the traditional court, the playoff court, without that new city edition one. Brunson's got so much rest. He's rusty. He needs to play every day, says JB. Yeah, I really feel different about the 2 days rest between games 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. It could work to a benefit if a player has a knock, or you're hoping for more time for a player to recover from an injury. But if everybody's healthy and we win the first 2 games, I don't want that 2 days break. I want to just continue to get on with it, because the more Pistons have those 2 days to think about it and adjust, that could help them. So series 1 out east, Cleveland Heat. I'm going to go... Look, Cavaliers have a tendency to take their foot off the gas a little bit. So I'm going to give the Heat 1 I'll give the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5. I'll go Cleveland 5, and the Heat pick up. I'm going to say the Heat win game 3 or 4 on their home. And that Cleveland will be like, yeah, we've taken care of home, and we've got the first 2, and then they kind of let the Heat pick up one, right? But the Cleveland will try to end that series early, fam, and obviously, they're hoping to go on a long run. Johnny says Cavs in 4. Yeah, I could see that. Kaiser Soze agrees. Cavs in 4 as well. So talent-wise, they're scary. Who would they face if they advance? The Cavs. The Cavs would end up facing. They'll face the winner out of Indiana, and Milwaukee. So I feel like this series could be the prime candidate to go 7. I feel like this could be the longest series out east. Milwaukee versus Indiana. Yeah, this is tough because we got news that Dame is now made a quick recovery, and looking like that he is questionable. So he's not going to play game 1, I feel, but he might play game 2. He might play game 3, as Indiana have home court advantage. They might be saving Dame for 2 or 3. I'm going to say, because it's tough, because you don't know, it's going to factor into how much Dame plays, right? If Dame plays a lot in this series, I would give the edge to the Bucks, actually, because we all know that, Giannis has been playing crazy right now, and if he gets another sidekick, then that's going to be a handful for Indiana and their role players. But it's going to be tight. This one's going to be close. I'm going to say Bucks in 7. I'm going to say in 7. Tendrell says Bucks in 6. Yeah, I could feel that. Kaiser agrees, says Pacers Bucks going to go 7. For sure, man. Yeah, this could be the series that everyone's hoping the Knicks Pistons one is, in terms of some toughness, some scuffles. There's definitely some bad blood between those two, going all the way back to the game ball gate. When Indiana on their home floor hid the game ball away, I think, for Oscar Tshiebwe or whatever it was, and I think it was Giannis's game career high. I think it was Giannis's career high, and Oscar Tshiebwe or something from Indiana scored his first points or something, and they stole the game ball. So yeah, it's gonna be lots of bad blood between those two, man. And then our series, as I said before, I don't see this one going past 6. I think it'll be Knicks in 5 if they win the first 2. If Pistons can somehow split the first 2, I think it'll be going 6. But I do think, my prediction is that the Knicks will win one in Detroit, right? Last season, we had success closing it out in Philly. The season before that, we closed out Cleveland in Cleveland as well. So we have the onions, we have the stones to close them out on the road, fam. With Road Warriors, Hart, Brunson, they've been through those college battles. I do think we'll win a game in Detroit. So it'll either be ending in 5 or 6. Next up, 2-7 matchup. Boston v the Orlando Magic, who've had a bit of a crazy season as well due to injuries. They're really missing their bigs with Mo Wagner in that one. Goga Bitadze missed time as well. Porzingis, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Jaylen Brown is dealing with knee soreness as well. He's having injections. And so I feel like Boston got away with a couple of wins that they could have lost last season against Indiana. And they do have a tendency to go through funks throughout the games, throughout series. So I could see Orlando winning too. I could definitely see them winning too. I don't think the Boston Celtics are as invincible as people think. Um, big question marks over Jaylen Brown, no doubt. But if they call it physical, I could see Orlando, trying to make it more physical. Obviously, Orlando don't have the shooters, so they're going to have to go inside. They're going to have to try to bludgeon Porzingis and Coronet and try to take him down low. You know, uh, they just don't have the shooters, so perimeter defense isn't really a key. Um, it's going to be the battle of the paint. Tendrell says Celtics in 4 or Magic in 7. Wow, what a swing, man. Pacers are not stopping Giannis, says Johnny. And Paula says, I don't care where the Knicks get it, but they just have to. I don't care where the Knicks get it, but they better get some toughness. Yep. We'll see a much tougher team, with Mitchie healthy now, OG rested. Orlando always plays them tough, so I like Boston in 6 as well, says Kaiser Soze. And Michael Drake says Detroit has no real playoff experience, so yeah, that'll be a key as well. I think for the New York Knicks to have their success. Predictions out west. Obviously, we do have the games going on right now, don't we? Between Dallas and Memphis. Let's pull this up. Okay, Memphis are up to end the first, 29-14. Wow, they are killing the Mavericks. I predicted the Mavericks in this one, but still a long way to go. 3 minutes to go in the first. Grizzlies 29, Dallas 14. So they've doubled their score right now. So this is the rights to play Oklahoma, fam. Either one, I think Oklahoma will win it in 5, fam. I could see Dallas stealing a game off Oklahoma because they haven't really been there. They haven't got as much experience. Dallas have got the size. They've got Lively, AD, and they've got Daniel Gafford as well. Right. So I could see Dallas winning 1, but if it's the Grizzlies, I think OKC will sweep. Next up, we have the Denver Nuggets versus the Clips. Now, how ironic, but this is the same version of the East 4-5, where this is tough. Any team can win this one in 7, I feel. And this is definitely going 7, in my opinion. I could see the Nuggets winning it in 6, but I feel like if the Clippers win, it'll be 7. I don't have the confidence the Clippers will win it in 6. I think the Nuggets just have too much experience. Joker just won't let that happen. But I could see the Clips in 7, or I could see the Nuggets in 6 or 7. But I'm just going to say Nuggets in 7. Bam. Kawhi might miss a game or two. Harden might stink it up. We'll see how that plays out. Tendrell says Nuggets in 7 as well. Yeah, the experience is going to be key, man. They've been through the battles. Obviously, they fired the coach, though. Mike Malone is out of there. So they might be dealing with a new coach bounce, or they might be dealing with some chip on their shoulder as well. That can bring a team together, I don't think it's going to disrupt a veteran team in terms of Mike Malone's not there anymore, but I feel like the players will take responsibility. Ty Lue's a very good coach too. So like I said, I could see the Clippers winning in 7 if they can stay healthy. But there's just too many questions over Harden, Kawhi in the playoffs, I feel like the Nuggets can ruffle them, get the best of them in that. But yeah, if the Clippers are healthy, I could see them as a dark horse, definitely. Kaiser. I feel like Kawhi he's the biggest X factor in this whole playoffs, alongside maybe Giannis. You know, they're just completely physically able to dominate any matchup, any team, any night, right? If those guys are on, it's basically like prime LeBron. We know LeBron ain't prime LeBron anymore, but back in the day when he just wanted to take over and say we're not losing this matchup. We all know that the two guys still in the league right now, Giannis and Kawhi, and the Joker, I feel, but the Joker not so much physically, more so, uh, you know, tactically, precision, execution, and the other guy is probably SGA. I'll give SGA's flowers. Um, I'm not trying to disrespect Tatum, but Tatum's super dominant. But I just don't feel Tatum's a jump shooting player. I don't feel like he's going to, you know, take over a matchup physically. You know what I mean? Against Orlando. Uh, Whereas I think Kawhi can do that, and so can Giannis. Next up, LA versus the Knicks 2.0, Minnesota. Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, their second trip back to the playoffs uh, after the postseason with the Knicks last year, right? I'm not gonna lie, I'll be rooting for Mini in this one. Ant-Man. This is gonna be a fun series. I do think that the Lakers would be slight favorite, in my opinion. I could see the Lakers winning it in 6. I could see the Timberwolves winning it in 7. I think the longer the series goes, the Timberwolves could get more confident. I think the Lakers' best chance is to end this one early. I feel as if because LeBron's going to age, physically, he's going to exhaust, and so can Luka. So the longer the series goes, I think the Lakers' best chance is just to put their foot down early and to dominate, right? If Mini can steal one of the first two, yeah, it's going to be a long series. Julius could really get going physically. Dante could get going as well from 3. One of those two guys is going to have to step up to help Anthony. Tendrell, Lakers in 6, but I also want Mini, and Kaiser agrees. Yeah, I want Mini to beat LA. Yeah, we all know LeBron's going to come back. I think the word is for one more season, maybe 2 more. He might sign a 1-1, but basically we all know that the sun is starting to set, and so they made the Luka trade. Like I said, I'm rooting for Dallas. I'm rooting for Dallas against Oklahoma as well, right? I know they did a trade that should not have been made, but I don't think that should be held against Anthony Davis. I think they can be more physical, Dallas, but in terms of the trade, right? LA, they lucked into the Luka situation, but that's for the future. But Austin Reeves can be the secondary or top scorer on any night. I feel like Minnesota will play better defense though. They've got Rudy Gobert. They've got a better rim protector. If Julius and Dante are locked in, I think that could be the biggest factor for me. If Julius is engaged defensively, that goes a long way to Minnesota winning. Because I don't feel like LA is the best defensive team. You could get at Luka, you could get at LeBron now. They've got Rui Hashimura, Austin Reeves as well. You can attack him. Don't forget, we almost beat LA. We should have beat LA out there. Even when Brunson went down in the last 3 minutes or so, the Knicks should have won that ball game out west. And then last but not least, we have the Rockets versus the Warriors. Now, this could be the second most spicy series, or the most spicy, second to the Pacers Bucks. This is definitely going to get spicy with Draymond talking stuff, Ime Udoka clowning Steph for crying. They're going to ruffle feathers, Houston, man. They're going to ruffle Steph. I tell you what, guys, you asked about how soon is Isaiah Stewart going to get a technical? I can guarantee that Draymond Green is going to pick up a technical in this one, man. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, Kaiser, Lakers can't guard Ant. That's the question. Will Randall show up? Yep. That's why the Lakers will try to end it early. You know, they'll try to home court. They'll try to snatch their soul out in the first two. You know, because that's when LeBron will have the most energy. You know, as the series goes on, I don't really feel like LeBron will be a plus defensive player as the series goes. Man, we all know Ant-Man's slow to warm up, and then he can get going. There's another player that's never healthy, Paula says, Luca. Yep. You know, rest could be key. You know, no back-to-backs for all of these guys, for the old heads. But I'm looking at the big man department. You know, they've got Jackson Hayes. How is he going to stack up over a 7 game? If I'm at Ant-Man, I'm going strong to the rack. You know, the mini can at least say they've got Rudy Gobert back there as well. He has the experience on that one. Yeah, Luka Dante shootout. That could be crazy. And you're going Rockets in 6. Rockets in 6. I like that. Yep. I don't think Golden State will win this series. I think it's going to go 6 or 7, definitely. This one's definitely not going to go 5. It'll be 6 or 7, and I do think it'll be Rockets in 6. Or Golden State in 7. You know, if there's some crazy Steph heroic, if there's a dubious, controversial Draymond call situation, suspension, I could see Warriors in 7 or Rockets in 6. But yeah, the first two are going to be crazy because Rockets don't have that playoff experience just yet, but they have the home court. So it's kind of roles reversed. It's like the Pistons having home court against us, but with no experience. That's the reverse scenario of this series. The Knicks obviously have home court. We have the experience, but the Rockets have the home court, but they're the ones without the experience. But I do trust their coach. Like Ime Udoka is a good defensive coach, and they've got the dogs to deploy on Steph. Right? Who else is going to have to step up? You've got probably the best perimeter defender on your side in Amen Thompson, and he could get at Steph as well on the other side. It ain't like Osar Thompson where he's only effective defensively. He's a demon on both sides, so they're going to have to look out for him as well. If I'm the Rockets, my game plan would be to run and stun, man. Get out there and transition, and just you've got the athletes, you know, try to blow them out of the gym. Because Steph, Draymond, and that, you know, I don't know how much they want to get up and down too much, you know. They've got Gary Payton, they've got Mosley, they've got Pods. But yeah, I do feel like the Rockets should end that one a bit earlier, fam. SF Wisdom agrees, Rockets in 6. And Tendrell says Draymond Tech with 11:37 remaining in the first. You know, the officials have definitely allowed him a lot more leniency. Like, you know, there's no player that gets more leniency with the officials than Dre. So, you know, is there going to be a moment where Steph's going to be like shaking his head, like, "Man, you're doing this to me again," and he gets thrown out? But who's going to be the one to get in his face? Dylan the villain? Someone has to be the antagonist in this one. Is there going to be a European big in what's his name? Man, I'm drawing a mental block. But yeah, the Turkish big man, the all-star big man on the Rockets, right? Someone's going to have to get physical for Draymond to lose his cool, I feel. Because Draymond he tries to bully up on smaller dudes. But once somebody bigger, yeah, Steven Adams. That's a good shout. That's a great shout. Steven Adams, man. I love to see him pick up Draymond, man. Yeah, Sangoon's the dude. That's it. No disrespect, I just couldn't remember his name, but yeah, he is a key player. Uh, they're definitely going to try to go to him, but look, Draymond can hold his own in the post, and that could work against the Rockets if they try to go to that too much. If they try to spam that. Um, I feel like the swing factors are going to be, um, it's going to be Fred. It's going to be Fred Van Vliet, Jalen Green. Those players are quite volatile. You know, you don't know what you're going to get. Um, if they show up, then yeah, that's going to give the Rockets enough scoring. They've got the physicality in the defense. The Warriors have more scoring with Jimmy, Steph. They can slow the game down, get into foul trouble. By the way, I saw a crazy stat that Jimmy Butler has drawn the most free throws, to nobody's surprise. But this statistic absolutely blew me away. Was something like 33% or 35% of all of his points this season have come off free throws. That's insane. That's insanity, man. That's almost 50% of his points come from the free throw line, man. No player has drawn more fouls than Jimmy Buckets, man. He's a foul merchant. But somehow they call Jalen out for being a foul merchant. Man, it's crazy. Jimmy's been a foul merchant all season, all career. We have the Grizzlies Mavericks. Grizzlies are in dominant control, 47-24 right now. So yeah, looks like the Mavericks are in Cancun, man. Right, those players are like, actually I heard that AD was questionable, so maybe AD didn't even play. No, AD's playing. AD's playing 12 minutes so far, 8 points, but he was questionable with the abs strain. So, look, the season's been a wash for Dallas, man. Emotionally, they're drained right now, man. Emotionally, spiritually, they've been have their soul snatched out since that trade. Right now, I think the Grizzlies are probably just more hungry, to get there. Yeah, the refs are always on the Warriors' side. Although their fans speak that Steph Curry doesn't get enough foul calls, so that's their argument as well. SF says that's crazy considering what SGA has done. Yeah, SGA has got a generational whistle this season, man. But he's a better player. He's an MVP candidate. I don't think Jimmy Butler at his age should be drawing the same level whistle. It's insane. But he does have the old man head fake. I think Jimmy Butler's probably got still the best old man head fake. Kind of like Andre Miller used to have, man. Andre Miller with the old man game. He was 40 years old. He was still drawing fouls, with his savviness. So yeah, let's wrap this thing up, man. I'm excited for tomorrow, but as I promised, we'll do a recap of the 10 biggest questions as well. So number 10, we had, could we see some early rust, right? Yeah, some interruptions heading into the playoffs with players missing games late, players returning from injury, and yeah, just the 6 days rest. I think we'll see a little bit of rust, but I think once they get into their rhythm, it'll be like they never left. Question number 9. How much stock do we put into the regular season matchups between the two teams? 3v1, right? I put only 50% stock, right? 50%, you could look at the Cade success, Malik Beasley, sorry. Him getting loose in one of those matchups. You could look at Mitch not playing, and Osar Thompson missed the first game as well. But some of the stock that I do put in, that the matchup that the Knicks won, they forced 22 turnovers. So that is a blueprint for the Knicks to ruffle up Cade and get them turning the rock over, especially in the first 2 at Madison with the crowd. And that'll be our best chance, I think, to ruffle them up early and to get turnovers. Don't let them get into any kind of rhythm. None of their shooters, nothing. We all know they're streaky. Tim Hardaway streaky. Beasley streaky. Question number 8. How much is the rest going to play a factor? I think huge. I think the Knicks have looked great after the rest in terms of spryness, physicality, being able to sustain larger minutes. So I do think you mitigate that with a little bit of rust, but I do think it's going to be a huge factor now with our full squad fully healthy, and also with the bigs available now. Number 7, how will the officials call it? Right, this could work to the benefit or the detriment of both teams. Right, the Knicks, first and foremost, we have to quit complaining. Right, they are going to let it play physical. There's no doubt. At least in the first 3 quarters, they're going to let Beef Stew or Sarah Thompson and that be as physical as they can on the pick and roll. We have to adjust. We have to be ready, and we'll get the calls as well. We have to just continue playing smart. If JB ain't getting the whistle, then don't attack Osar Thompson. Get the ball going and make them call the foul. If OG can get to the paint, Mikal Bridges has to be more physical in this one, right? He has to be a factor and not just fading away. He has to get into the paint and he has to force some action in this one. He's been lackluster in terms of free throws this season and rebounding as well. Next up, how these young Pistons handle the stage, right? The lights are the brightest and everyone has a plan till they get punched in the mouth, right? The Pistons haven't really been here. Only 2 of their 5 starters have had playoff experience. So the Knicks need to capitalize on that, win the first 2, and it's ball game. If the Pistons can extend the series and get more confidence, utilize some of their depth pieces, that could be their best chance. Question number 5, Tibbs and the Bigs temptation. Fully available. Is this the ace up Tibbs' sleeve? Has he been saving it for this whole time? Right? Yeah, there's no doubt, it'd be smart to save Mitch, somewhat due to the health concerns. But now it's the bigger stage and now he needs to play his best hand. Right? If you're playing poker, you play your best hand straight away. In my opinion, there's no need to wait. If, with Hukporti healthy now, if one of these guys is in foul trouble, we've got some backup. We've got some backup help. And just for my personal opinion, I do think Tibbs has been saving it a little bit. I don't think he's going to start Mitch. I'd be surprised. But I still have to believe that Tibbs has been holding out a little bit longer to play Mitch together with Cat a lot more now. We'll see how the Pistons can react. Question number 4. Will the Bucks stop with wing stop? Bridges, OG, and Josh Hart have to all play together great. Players have been up and down recently in form. OG's been a demon since All-Star break. But Bridges, they're going to put him in a lot of ball screens, but he has to rise to the occasion, especially offensively, right? We do have scorers, but if Bridges can get loose, that just creates a whole lot of headache for Detroit. They might have to look at cross-matching, putting Osar Thompson on somebody else, right? Bridges has to have a few games this series where he's like getting loose, offensively. If he disappears, then that is going to be the level playing field that we don't want. And obviously defensively, how OG and Bridges can combat the pick and roll with Cade is going to be big time. Question number 3. Karl Anthony Towns, 3 times the man from downtown. His 3-point attempts have got to go up. Man, we have a stretch big. Let's use the stretch big, right? You don't give up, pieces like Randall and Dante to just have a post-up big man that doesn't get fully used. Big criticism on Thibodeau for this season. his utilization of Karl Anthony Towns, and the Knicks as a team being the 27th ranked 3-point team in attempts. Man, that's disgraceful, right? How can you call yourself a stretch 5, a stretch team, if you're 27th in the league, right? There'd be other teams that would kill to have a stretch big, and they don't, and we do. So let's use that. Let's use him. And I want to see pick and pop, pick and roll, and I want to see that a lot more with Jalen Brunson. By the way, Beef Stewart and Jalen Duren, they don't want to come out on the perimeter. Even Pistons fans will tell you that's their biggest weakness, fam. Realistically, Karl Anthony Towns could have multiple 40-point games in this series, right? We could see the similar thing that we saw last season with Brunson, with Cat putting up 45, 40. Second to last biggest question, which of the real point gods is going to stand up? JB and Cade, right? They can't do it all by themselves. So who's going to do the best at setting up their guys and having the biggest impact, right? With setting it up, lack of turnovers, executing down the stretch, ability to get the other one in foul trouble, ability to navigate the trap, the pick and roll, the blitz. The Knicks will ice and hedge on a lot of the pick and rolls. And I do think we'll blitz Cade a little bit. And the other side, they will put Osar Thompson on JB, single coverage, I think. But if JB starts to get loose, they might start bringing in the double. And last, but the biggest burning question, in my opinion, is, will the best version of the New York Knicks shine, right? We could win the series even if the best version of this team doesn't show up. Whereas I feel like the best version of Detroit has to show up. But it would be ideal for the future, for the fan base, for our chances in the second round, for so many other reasons. It would be to everyone's benefit for the best version of this team to shine, right? However that is, whether that's balanced scoring, whether that's 30 plus assists with Karl Anthony Towns, being used as a stretch big man, whether that's the dual big lineups and dominating, shutting down the Detroit Pistons defensively, whatever best version it is, let's hope that we see it, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, without further ado, there's nothing less to talk about now than the actual games. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m, we'll be live post-game right after the buzzer to dissect the first round matchup, the first game between these two Eastern Conference foes. And Jalen Brunson, he looks serious there, man. He means business right now. ESPN predicted the New York Knicks 10-0 sweep of their ESPN panel, and now the time is now to shine on the big stage. As I said earlier tonight, I hope the Empire State is lit up in orange and blue this time tomorrow night, because that'll mean that the New York Knicks have pulled out the dub, fam. And the Garden, the crowd, 33rd and 7th is going crazy. And that only means one thing, that the playoffs are here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you post-game. Peace.